Hello everyone, welcome to The Author's Crown. My name is A Crown. In this channel I will present to you stories written by both myself and occasionally stories written by good friends of mine. So without further ado, let's get this show started. Today's story is written by my good friend Ty Tiger. You can check out his other stories on his channels Tiger Tales The Lost Stories, and Tiger Tales Game Over. Now this one is a crossover between Power Rangers Jungle Fury and Transformers Rise of the Beasts. So enjoy Power Rangers Jungle Fury x Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Spirits and machines unite.
Deep in the forest, several monks carried a big box, placed it down next to the massive mechanical lion. "We are the followers of Daishi, and as his followers it is our job to find him a new vessel. We have found this Maximal, a being made of metal and filled with strength. So we called the ancient Daishi to come from a time before he was defeated and fuel this body, instead of the traitor known as Jared," the leader monk called out. The other monks started mumbling and chanting, and suddenly a portal opened in the sky, and a golden light flew out of it, and with a thunderous roar it entered the dead Maximal, the portal closing behind it. "Quickly, release the Energon," the leader commanded. Two monks broke open the massive box, and Energon seeped out of it and into the robotic lion. Then it exploded to life. The lion started coughing, and it climbed to its feet, now overtowering all the humans. "I believe you're the ones who brought me here," coughed up Daishi. "Yes, we are, O Great One," the leader called out. The monks all dropped to their knees and started to bow to Daishi. "I planned on taking over a human, but you took me out of my time, which only means I failed," Daishi barked. "I'm afraid you did, Lord Daishi. You were defeated by the Jungle Fury Power Rangers, aided by the masses of Paishwa," the monk leader explained. "A redo does sound quite perfect, then. And what is this body?" Daishi asked. "It's something called a Maximal, a biomechanical alien species that crashed here a few years ago," the leader told him. "Then I will destroy the Rangers, now that they aren't expecting me." Daishi chuckled. Lily stood there on the edge of a cliff. She waved her arms gracefully as she practiced her Tai Chi, the spirit of the cheetah flowing off of her gently. She guided her feet across the ground, and then suddenly a mass amount of rustling came from the forest that lay behind her. She stopped and turned around to face whatever was about to burst forth from the trees. She stood there uneasy. Something made her body drop into a fighting stance. Then a massive biomechanical lion, not as big as the Zords were back in her Ranger days, but the mechanical lion was definitely bigger than normal. It came charging towards her. She froze on the spot, not knowing what to do. Then it came to a halt and swiped a massive claw at Lily. She jumped up really high into the air and flipped over the massive claw. "Stay still," the mechanical lion barked. "Wait, I know that voice." Lily stopped as she landed. "It is I, Daishi," the mechanical lion roared. "That's not possible. We defeated Daishi," Lily barked. "I am not from this time," Daishi growled. "What?" Lily gasped. Then Daishi snapped his big steel jaw at Lily. She backflipped and the tips of his fangs skimmed her legs. She landed and started channeling her animal spirit. She then threw her hands out, and the yellow burst of energy burst from her palms, and it formed into the yellow cheetah spirit. It swung its claws at Daishi's face. He growled in pain, then Lily dropped her hands in exhaustion, and the cheetah spirit vanished. Daishi slammed his big claws on the ground, making the cliff shake. Lily stumbled back and landed on her backside. Then Daishi slammed the ground again. Lily felt the ground break under her. Suddenly, another biomechanical beast jumped out of the forest and crashed into Daishi. Lily laid there as two massive metal beasts fought over her. Right above her, she looked up and saw claws and fangs exchanging blows. The other animal looked kind of like a cheetah. It fought well against Daishi. Then Daishi jumped back and roared loud. "I return, Ranger, for my revenge. I'll focus my sights on an army first," Daishi growled, then ran into the forest with great speed. "Damn it!" Lily snapped as she brushed her hair back with her hand as she turned to the big biomechanical cheetah she stood. "You saved me," Lily gasped. "I did. My name is Cheetor," the mechanical beast spoke. "I'm Lily." "What are you?" Lily asked. We are Maximals, an alien species sent to protect something, but now we just hide here. I used to have something to protect as well. You knew that one? Lily asked, pointing towards the forest. I know the body. He used to be a friend on our planet, but he died when we landed here. We buried him a few years ago, but that was not our friend, Cheetor snapped. Our? Lily questioned. There's a few of us. I will alert them of this, Cheetor explained. Listen, the being who has stolen your friend's body, I know who it is. I know exactly what it is. I defeated it once before. Someone brought it back from the past and put, it into him, Lily explained. Seems like unique circumstances. Sadly, you're a mere human, Cheetor chuckled. Actually, I think me and my friends may have something that might help, Lily grinned. A couple of days later, RJ sat there meditating, with his music on, and he sat there taking deep breaths. Then suddenly a deep, cool breeze blew through his hair. He opened his eyes and saw the spirit of Master Mao floating before him. Ah yes, Master Mao, I certainly have missed your unexpected and uninvited visits. What do I owe the pleasure? RJ said with a grin. RJ, not the time for your quips. Daishi has returned, Mao barked. How? We defeated him, RJ asked confused. He has been brought back from the time before Rangers, and has taken over an alien species this time round, Mao asked. An alien species isn't that far of a stretch, I suppose? RJ mocked. Then, in a flash of light, a wooden case was presented before him. RJ stood and opened the case, and inside were 5 Ranger Morphers. RJ looked up at Mao in full knowing that the situation was serious. Lily has already made contact with alien allies. You must band together your Rangers. RJ, stop this before it gets out of hand, Master Mao said. I will. Don't worry, RJ said seriously. Then the spirit of Master Mao disappeared. Casey walked out of the tiger exhibit and placed down his broom and empty bucket. He then looked at Dom, stood there wearing his white jungle furry jacket before him. Oh god, what happened? Casey asked. We gotta... something big, okay? You gotta come with me, Dom said. Casey nodded and followed Dom. They headed towards Karma Jungle Pizza and ran into the loft. Memories flooded Casey as he walked in, and to find Theo, Lily, and RJ stood there waiting. You guys, it's great to see you, Casey called out. In cheers, he ran over and hugged everyone. It's good to see you too, Casey, Theo replied. I'm so sorry it's not under the happy situation, RJ smiled. So it's true then. Daishi's back, Casey called out. Yes, and he has a new body this time, RJ said. I can help here, but you guys are just gonna have to follow me, Lily grinned. Where are we going? Casey asked confused. The jungle, of course, Lily grinned. They all packed, and Lily led them deep into a forest. They reached the dark and eerie part where shadows painted the floor. So, you really think it's aliens? Casey asked with raised eyebrows as they walked through the forest. I keep telling Lily, she's seeing things. Aliens do not exist, Theo blurted. Wait, you haven't met them, Theo? Dom asked. No, I told Lily I should, but no, I'm not allowed, Theo said sarcastically. They only trust me. They do have human allies, but don't want to risk more humans knowing about them. There is others like them, or similar, I think, so I convinced them to meet us. But it took a while for me to convince the leader, and besides, I met them like 2 days ago, Lily explained as she led the way. They have the weirdest names as well, Lily told them. They are aliens from outer space, Lily said. I like to believe anything is possible. That way, life is more enjoyable, RJ said with a slight grin. A deep metallic clanging sound came from deep within the jungle. Then a massive creature landed in front of them, a huge biomechanical gorilla. A rhino landed to one side of them, and the cheetah landed to the other. The team looked up at the massive creatures in awe. Guys, meet the Maximals, Lily said with a smile. Lily, these must be the team you spoke of, the big gorilla spoke. I stand corrected, Theo muttered in slight shock. Yes, we are the Power Rangers, Lily grinned. It is an honor. We have met humans before, but none like yourselves, the gorilla said to them. It's an honor to meet you, Casey said with a slight bow. This is Cheetor and Rhinox. I am Optimus Primal, the gorilla introduced himself. I am RJ, this is Casey, Theo, and Dom, and of course you already met our Lily, RJ told him. This is a strange one for us, to say the least. A spirit possessing a Maximal's unheard of, Primal told them. Yeah, well, he possessed a human a few years back, and that went really bad, Theo told the Maximals. We are aware. Question is, what do we do now? What would this Daishi do next? Cheetor asked. Well, that is the thing. We know that he could tap into Jared's mind, so if he can do that to your deceased friend, is there any way that he could use that knowledge to make an army? Or a device that would allow him to bring an army to him, maybe? RJ asked. Yes, there are some corpses of those Terracon minions still around, Primal explained. Daishi would build an army and then head straight for town. He knows what we will do, anything to protect the human race, Casey blurted. He has possessed a Maximal that had the unique ability to breathe life into any form of being fueled with Energon. So, he could be quite, into building an army already, Primal said sternly. Where is this graveyard? Dom asked with air quotes. Close by. We could be there within the next hour or so, Primal told them. Okay, so here's the plan. We head to this graveyard, hopefully find Daishi. If he is there, then we take on the terror thingy things, then we resurrect, and we have to deal with the resurrected version of Daishi, but, destroy the body, get rid of Daishi's spirit once and for all. Again, Casey ordered. Great plan, but how are we going to do that without morphing? Theo asked. Good thing I got these, huh? RJ smiled, pulled out a wooden case from his bag and placed it on the big tree root and opened it, revealing everyone's morphers. Oh, yeah, Casey called out. Now we're talking, Lily grinned. Still with the glasses. Couldn't upgrade us anything a little bit more martial arts thing, could ya? Theo sighed. No one complained before. RJ grinned. They all took their morphers out. Let's beat this thing, Dom said. A few hours went by and they found a graveyard that the Maximal spoke of, filled with Terracon minions. What happened here? Lily asked in shock. We had a few stowaways. I guess they put up a good fight, Cheetah chuckled. They saw the lion Maximal stood there breathing life into the small Terracon pawns. There he is, Casey muttered. Then they all jumped into the rocky battlefield and walked up to Daishi. The lion stopped and looked up to them. So, you have arrived and saved me the time in finding you myself. You brought yourself to slaughters like lambs, Daishi roared. You may be bigger than Jared, but you'll fall just as hard, RJ yelled out. Bigger they are and all that, Dom grinned. You are fools, and these Maximals are a joke, Daishi chuckled. You dare use the body of our fallen brethren, Primal barked. If you want it back, you're gonna have to destroy me, Daishi mocked. In honor of him, we will, Primal growled. Theo leaned in close to Casey. These guys are kind of bigger than us. How are we going to do this? Theo asked, pointing out the few of the Terracon minions that stood with Daishi. We got this, man. Don't worry. Casey smiled. Then Casey took a couple steps forward. We beat you once. We can do it again. Casey called out. Then he pulled out his solar morpher. Ready, guys? Casey called out, placing his glasses on. Ready, everyone else called out. Theo and Lily placed their glasses on. RJ flipped open his wristband morpher, and Dom pressed his bracelet. Rhino morpher, initiate, Dom muttered, and his bracelet exploded into his morpher. Jungle Beast, Spirit Unleashed, the five called out, and in a flash of red, yellow, blue, purple, and white, they morphed into the Jungle Fury Rangers. With the strength of the tiger, Jungle Fury Red Ranger, the Red Ranger called out as he dropped into his fighting stance. With the speed of a cheetah, Jungle Fury Yellow Ranger, the Yellow Ranger called out as she dropped into her fighting stance. With the stealth of a jaguar, Jungle Fury Blue Ranger, the Blue Ranger called out as he dropped into his fighting stance. With the courage of the wolf, Jungle Fury Purple Ranger, the Purple Ranger called out as he dropped into his fighting stance. With the power of the rhino, Jungle Fury Rhino Ranger, the White Ranger called out as he dropped into his fighting stance. Rhinox, maximize! Rhinox called out and he transformed into his humanoid-looking form. Cheetor, maximize! Cheetah called out and he transformed into his humanoid-looking form. Optimus Primal, maximize! Primal called out and he transformed into his humanoid-looking form. The five Rangers stood with the three Maximals. Ah, yes. I've almost forgot. Daishi barked. Then he raised his paws up and then he shifted into hands. Then his hind legs shifted into more humanoid-looking ones. His lion head shifted into his chest. As more humanoid head extended, there stood Daishi in the maximal humanoid form. Daishi looked at the small group of Terracon minions that stood behind him. Destroy them all, he'd ordered. His small army ran at the Rangers and Maximals. Alright guys, let's save the world one more time, the Red Ranger called out. Then they ran towards the machines and several times their size. Let us save our friend and put him to rest once again. And this time, saving Earth whilst we do it. Primal called out and charged along with the Red Ranger. The rest of the Rangers and Maximals ran into the battle, following their leaders once more. The Blue Ranger ran up to a Terracon and summoned his jungle Tonfas. He channeled the spirit of the jaguar and swung the Tonfas, the spirit energy slicing the Terracon's legs. It fell down onto one knee and then started shooting its handgun at the Blue Ranger, who spun his tonfa around the spiritual energy, slicing the Terracon into 3 pieces, leaving it destroyed once more. Then he channeled the spiritual pressure and released the Jaguar spirit. It ran up to another Terracon and lashed at it, slicing its knees, then ripped off its head with its jaw. Then the spirit diminished. Then the Blue Ranger summoned his jungle fans, ran at the Terracon, jumped up and spun around, creating a vortex. The Terracon was knocked into the air, then summoned the bat spirit, and the bat flew up and sliced the Terracon in half. Rhinox swung his almighty hammer, battering several Terracons into pieces. Then he slammed it down and the ground shook as he squashed a Terracon under it. He then booted one away. He then transformed back into his rhino form and charged forward, knocking it into several more before transforming back into humanoid form. He then grabbed one and crushed its head with his bare hands. The Yellow Ranger summoned her jungle staff and started smacking 2 Terracons around. She then channeled her spirit energy, swung her bow staff, the energy knocking the legs off one, the jaw off another, and then she ran up the body of another one, jumped up, dropped down, again swinging her staff as hard as she can, smacking the Terracon in the face. She then channeled the Cheetah Spirit and released it. The Cheetah Spirit ran and rolled into a ball, smacking a few of the Terracons like they were bowling pins. The spirit diminished. Then the Yellow Ranger summoned the jungle mace and started smacking Terracons around like they were flies, effortlessly swinging around the mace. She then summoned the spirit of the elephant to deal a crushing attack. The White Ranger extended his rhino blade and started slicing the Terracon minions. He cut through them like with ease, and then summoned the spirit of the rhino. The massive rhino spirit sliced through a few of them, cutting them in half easily. Then he bat flipped onto Rhinox, who was in his rhino form. "Hop on!" Rhinox barked. "So you can speak," the White Ranger cheered. "I can. Just choose not to. It's easier." Ha ha ha! Rhinox chuckled as he rammed into more Terracons. "Fair enough, friend," the White Ranger laughed as he started surfing on the rhino's back, slashing away at the Terracon minions. The Red Ranger, the Purple Ranger, and Primal ran at Daishi. The Red Ranger sent out his spirit of the tiger, whilst the Purple Ranger sent out a spirit of the wolf. Both spirits grabbed Daishi and pinned his legs down. Then Primal swung his fist and punched him in the chest. Then he smacked him in the face. Daishi then pulled his leg free, the spirit vanishing, and kicked Primal in the chest. Then both from his hands extended an axe. He gripped on it and swung at the 2 rangers. They both jumped back as the big blade sliced through the ground like it was butter. Primal jumped over Daishi and slammed his fist down, but Daishi blocked it and pulled Primal in close. "I quite like my new body," Daishi mocked with an evil growl. "You will not stay in it for long," Primal barked. Then the Red Ranger summoned the Shark Spirit and made it bite Daishi's arm and pulled as the Purple Ranger jumped up, raised his foot, and then he slammed it down on Daishi's face, charging it with spiritual energy. Then Primal jumped forward and rammed his shoulder into his chest. Daishi then punched Primal in the face, then ejected a sword from his wrist and stabbed Primal in the shoulder, and then kicked him back. Primal stumbled back and landed onto one knee, gasping at his shoulder in pain. His hand turned into a gun and he aimed it and fired but missed, the pain causing his aim to be unsteady. "I think I got an idea, but it's a little crazy," the Red Ranger said. He ran up to Primal, jumped up and landed on his wounded arm, and then placed both hands onto Primal's arm that he had aimed with his gun. The Blue and Yellow Ranger joined in. The Yellow Ranger jumped on Primal's knee, leaned over and placed her hands on his arm, as the Blue Ranger stood on Primal's arm itself and knelt down and placed his hands down to it. "Fueled with animal spirits," the Red Ranger called out. Then his arm started channeling red, yellow, and blue energy. Then the 3 rangers charged Primal's arm gun with spiritual power and fired an energy blast from it, and it flew at Daishi, who was running towards them. The blast hit him in the chest. Daishi stopped in his tracks as he fell to his knees and fell forward. "Primal, are you okay?" the Yellow Ranger asked, the Maximal, as he shifted into his gorilla form. "I will heal," Primal muttered. Then suddenly, spiritual energy started wrapping around Daishi's Maximal body, and it started to grow big, bigger than a Maximal. It was now Megazord big. "We're gonna need a Megazord," the Blue Ranger sighed. "And we can make one, I guess," the Red Ranger called out. Holding out his claw booster, he pressed the button on the claw, and it extended. The other 2 rangers followed suit, pulling theirs out and pressing the button. The claws extended too. Jungle Master Mode, all three called out, and they morphed into their Jungle Master modes. Let's call upon the Jungle Master Spirits, the Red Ranger called out. Then the three Rangers summoned the Gorilla, Antelope, and Penguin Spirits. They changed to their Zord's form, and they all called out combined. As the three Rangers jumped inside, the Jungle Master Megazord stood there in front of Daishi. I used the last of my spiritual power to grow, so I can squash you all like flies, Daishi barked. The Megazord punched Daishi, but he managed to block the attack. Then Daishi shifted his hand into his claw and slashed the Megazord one after the other. The Megazord then stumbled back. We have to help them. But how? Cheetor called out. We can try my Megazord, the White Ranger growled. No offense, but I think it'd be useless, the Purple Ranger replied, placing his hand onto the Rhino Ranger's shoulder. The White Ranger just nodded in response. How can we help then? Primal asked as he watched the Megazord being slashed around by Daishi. I might have an idea, but it's, I think, more insane than what Casey did, the Purple Ranger said. I'm all ears, Primal told him. Me and Dom can channel you with spiritual energy and link you to the Morphin Grid, making you grow and take the Gorilla Zord's place, the Purple Ranger explained. I don't know what you just said, but I'm willing to try, the Primal barked. Then both the Purple and White Rangers placed their hands onto Primal's fist and started channeling the animal spirit into the Maximal leader. Green energy sparked off of him, and then he started to grow. He grew to the size of the Gorilla Zord. Look, the Blue Ranger called out. I think they want to fuse Primal to our Megazord, the Yellow Ranger gasped. Come on, then, the Red Ranger ordered. Primal's legs folded into his body, and his gorilla face transformed into his Maximal face. Then the Gorilla Zord disassembled from the Megazord, and Primal attached itself in its place, the Antelope and Penguin Zord now becoming his legs. The Blue Ranger and the Yellow Ranger landed on Primal's shoulders, whilst the Red Ranger landed on Primal's head. Jungle Maximal Megazord, the Rangers called out. The Purple Ranger and White Ranger both landed on their knees and demorphed in exhaustion. Go get him, guys, RJ muttered. We're counting on you, Dom said. The Jungle Maximal Megazord charged at Daishi, swung his huge jungle fist, slamming into Daishi's chest, then lifted one arm up and a blade popped out of his forearm, and with a hard swing it sliced Daishi. Daishi then charged up his lion mouth, which was placed on his chest, and fired a massive cannon from it. The Megazord rolled to one side, dodging the attack. The Megazord then stood tall and ran at Daishi, punched him in the face a few times, grabbing his head and then pulling him down as he raised his knee up and kneed him in the face. Then he grabbed him by the shoulders, slicing his arm off, and then punching him in the face a couple more times before grabbing his head, and with the Antelope foot, he stomped down on Daishi's back, pulled his head, ripping the head clean off. The Maximal body started to shrink down to its normal size, and a golden light left its body. The blue light in its eyes faded away as life left the body once more. The golden light flew up into the air, and with a piercing scream it exploded into golden sparkles which rained down onto the battlefield. The Megazord disassembled. Optimus Primal returned to normal size. The Rangers all demorphed. Is everyone okay? RJ asked. I think so, Casey said with a lack of breath. Thank you all for aiding us, Primal said. It was an honor, Lily smiled. How do you feel, Primal? Casey asked him. I felt strange, but I felt strong. Like our unity made us stronger, Primal explained. You just explained what being a Power Ranger is all about, Theo muttered. Now what happens? Dom asked. We get to bury our friend, Rhinox replied. And we get to go home, Lily said, smiling at Theo. Sounds like a plan, he smiled back. They shared a kiss as Primal stood tall over the battlefield. I am Optimus Primal, the leader of the Maximals, and I acknowledge you, Power Rangers, Primal called out. Anytime, Casey grinned. The Rangers and the Maximals headed their separate directions. The Rangers headed home. Casey headed back to the zoo to feed his tiger, which he called Weiger. RJ went back to check on his pizza place in Angel Grove. Dom went home and waited for Fran to finish work, and Theo and Lily went home to relieve the babysitter of her duty so she could go home to Dom. The Maximals went back into hiding. They buried their friend, and they remained hidden until the day they were needed once again. They told the Autobots and the Power Rangers, and told them to keep an eye on them. Optimus Primal kept an eye on the village that looked after them, and the Maximals awaited the day they would meet the Power Rangers once again. And there you have it, guys. A crossover between Power Rangers Rise of the Beast and Transformers Rise of the Beast and Power Rangers Jungle Fury. I know it's a weird one. I came up with a few random ideas, but that's what fan fiction is all about. It's all about creating wacky ideas from fiction that already exists. Again, not a huge spoil onto the film, and if you have seen the film, then awesome. I do have a couple more Power Ranger crossover ideas, that crossover things that maybe have been crossed over in fan fiction writing before, but have never been mainstream continuity. That being said, I do need to shout out a few people. Of course, the Three Ranger Bros, Cosplay2637, with his podcast, Power Rangers Universe 19, Storytime with Cosplay2637, Sailor Moon E, and his YouTube channel, Nostalgia Time. And of course, Mark the Red Cornish Ranger, with his podcast, Nerds Through Comics. We're in association with Bulk and Scholar Podcasting, Billy and Jim, with their podcast, The Hero, which they come back every Friday and give us a whole bunch of things to listen to, from nostalgic 90s to Gundam to Power Rangers to Kamen Rider to collectibles to if aliens are abducting us. It's all sorts of weird stuff. I'd go check them out. They're a lot of fun. Of course, subscribe to our brother channel, Ty Tigers The Lost Stories, where I kind of flip on the word fanfiction, and also every story on that channel is from the first person perspective, so you might want to go check it out. Subscribe to this channel if you want to see more fanfictions, and of course my normal continuity work that has a continuous storyline, and maybe some more wacky crossovers like this. That being said, thank you all for watching, and I shall see you guys next time.
And that's the story for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and thank you for listening to The Author's Crown.